Hi, my name's Phil Beaumont, and I'm here to give you a short overview of the look and feel of the Oracle Cloud application. I'm logged on to the homepage of the system as Richard McIntyre, who happens to work in the HR department, but could obviously work in any part of the organisation. The first thing Richard sees is information about him as an individual. The system presents user-friendly tiles that clearly explain the different features available to him. In this case, he's got the ability to view personal information, things like contact information, next of kin details, and so on. He's also got the ability to view payslips and other documents of record, P60s, P11Ds, and so on. He's also got the ability to enter timesheets and/or absences, so holiday requests, study leave requests, sickness and the like. He's also got access to online learning, so he can see all of the mandatory and optional training courses that have been allocated to him, and he can see the current status of those courses. And he's even got the ability to request non-standard training or to record external learning as well. As an individual, Richard also has access to a digital assistant. This digital assistant can be surfaced within the application itself, but can also be embedded into Microsoft Teams. So you can, if you don't want to navigate around the menu, you can just use the digital assistant to ask simple questions. So maybe, what did I get paid last month? What's my current holiday balance if I want to book a holiday? Maybe I want to use the digital assistant to create an expense just by uploading a receipt, and so on and so forth. So if you say you want to view a payslip, the digital assistant is then telling you, okay, this is how much you were paid, and gives you a link that you can click on, which then pops up your payslip on the screen. So the digital assistant makes it very, very simple for people who've never used the system before. As a user, Richard can also see things like notifications that have been pushed out to the wider organisation, but you can also see role-based analytics. So because he works in the HR department, some of the information he's looking at is things like sickness records, health and safety incidents, employees at risk of leaving the organisation, and so on. So those analytics are looking across the entire organisation. He can also see some information that relates to his team within the HR department. So where are people at currently in terms of achieving their objectives, in terms of completing their mandatory training. He can see things like the expenses that his team has been submitting. But he can also see some information about himself as an individual. So, what's his annual leave balance? What does his competency profile look like? And so on. And he just needs to click on the little folder here to add additional report widgets onto that home page. And if he wants to, he can literally just drag and drop those around on screen to change the order in which the information is presented. So Richard can see a lot of information about himself, but he can also see information about his team, so the people who work directly to him. So if we click on My Team, Richard can then see individuals, but he can also see people like Brian, who reports to him, but then has some direct reports underneath Brian. So he can view the whole of the hierarchy in terms of everybody that ultimately reports up to him. If he's looking at one of those direct reports, so for example, let's go in and look at Arif. Arif actually occupies more than one position. The system supports staff working in multiple positions that might have different contracts, different sickness schemes, different pension schemes, and so on. And you can have as many positions as you like. Also, if I click on Show More, as Arif's manager, Richard can then see information like maybe some succession planning. If Arif leaves the organisation, who might be a suitable replacement? Can look at contact details for Arif. Can look at various other things, absence information, maybe what benefits he's got, where he's at from a learning perspective. And if we click on the Actions pull down, as Arif's manager, Richard can then do various things. So can change the work location, can look at any direct reports, we mentioned that already, can promote Arif if he's got the ability to do so. And obviously, as an organisation, you can control which tasks you allow your line managers to complete on behalf of their employees. And you may vary it so people at one level in the organisation can do more things than people at another level in the organisation. Based on the role-based access controls within the system, as well as seeing information about himself as an individual and information for his team, Richard can then see other bits of the system. So in this case, can access an employee help desk. When he goes into my client groups as an HR business partner, can then start looking at what's going on for the part of the organisation that he's supporting and so on. I'm just going to switch users very briefly. And show you the system from the perspective of a different person, but showing you that there's a lot of commonality. Now, James happens to work in the finance department. So the first thing you'll notice is both HR and finance look exactly the same. And that's because Oracle Cloud is a single integrated system. So the look and feel is consistent across all modules. It's underpinned by a single data model. So one list of employees, one list of positions, one list of cost centers, one list of account codes, customers, suppliers, and so on. So there's no need to synchronize data from one HR into finance, for example, because it's one single database, one single integrated application. We also have integrated real-time reporting and inquiry tools within the system, and obviously it's the same workflow. So you can look at a task list. If I just scroll down as James for a moment, to the things he's got to do. He's got a notification that a requisition that he raised has been approved, but he's also being asked to approve an absence request on behalf of a particular member of staff who reports through to him. So he can click on that approval notification and see the details of what he's being asked to approve. So here we can see he's being asked to approve an annual leave request for 10 days for Peter Hopkins. He can see all the details of that. He can add that into his calendar if he wants to, so he doesn't forget about it. And he can either approve it or reject it. But there's also a set of things that he could also do. So he could escalate it to somebody else. He could add some comments. He could request some extra information and so on. If we just scroll down a little bit further, we'll notice that because James is a finance user, the analytics that James sees are different to the analytics that Richard saw. So he's looking at things like what's going on with the balance sheet position, what's going on in terms of our income position, what's going on in terms of our cleared cash position. Have we got any journals that are either pending approval or need to be corrected or whatever? But scrolling back up, again, you can see James is still seeing that same information about himself as an individual that Richard could, so he can still go and view his personal records, view his pay slips, book some holiday, do some training. Again, James is a manager, this time within the finance department, but he's still got that ability to view his team and perform actions on behalf of his team. And then based on the role-based access controls, James has got access to raising requisitions on behalf of the finance team and doing some goods receipting. But he's also got access to receivables, so he can send invoices out to customers. He's got access to payables, so he can process invoices from suppliers. He's got access to general accounting, so he can close down month and year end. He can post journals. He's got access to fixed assets and so on. Now, I showed you before how simple it is to navigate around the system and also the use of the digital assistant. What we also have is a facility called guided learning. So if somebody has never seen the Oracle system before in their entire lives, maybe they joined the organisation after the Go Live training had been completed, or they maybe moved jobs and moved into a managerial position that meant they needed to perform more tasks, then first of all, they can run a quick wizard and video that introduces them to all of the main parts of the Oracle screen. So it explains what the navigator does. It explains how to use the search bar. It explains how to access the home page, where their notifications are going to be located, what the infolets do from a reporting and inquiry perspective, and so on. And I'll just close out of that for a sec. You can also send messages and notifications out to the organisation. You can, again, access learning and training content as well as from that learning widget that we saw on the home page. We can embed links to particular policies and procedures. So it might be a link to the maternity policy, the procurement policy, to reduce the incidence of people having to scrabble around on a SharePoint portal, trying to find out the latest version of the procurement policy to check, well, what's the limit where I need to go out and get 3 competitive quotations, that kind of thing. And what we've then got is a series of user guides that help you to perform particular tasks. So for example, if you've never created a purchase requisition before, you can say, I'd like to create a requisition. The guided learning then tells you you need to click on procurement. Hopefully you've been able to work that out for yourself, but just in case you can't. And then it says, select the purchase requisition screen. So you open up the purchase requisition screen. And once that purchase requisition screen has been accessed, again, it's nice and simple. The system's telling you, to do a search at the top of the screen to search the product catalogs to find the information you're looking for. But you can see the things that you've ordered recently, maybe notifications pushed out by the procurement team. You can punch out to external marketplaces or supplier websites, so GHX Marketplace, Amazon, or to a particular supplier, maybe Office Depot or Lyrico or Southern String Services or whatever. And you can also create non-catalog requests. So you can say, for example, you're doing those searches. I'd like to search for gloves, and I can then search an online catalog so I can see the various sorts of gloves that I might want to buy. And I can say, okay, I'm going to add those to my shopping cart. So very much an enterprise grade procurement experience. The user then can view the information that's in their cart before they send that requisition off to a manager for approval. So they can see the details of that particular product. They can see unit price information. The system actually defaults in where it should be coded to, so they don't need to think about that or have a post-it note sellotape to the desk beside the computer at the nurse's station. And they can then just submit that requisition off into approval via workflow. And that will then generate one of those workflow notifications. And as an end user, you can also view all of the requisitions that you've raised. Once they've been converted to purchase orders, you can view the purchase order details. You can view any goods receipts that are matched against those orders. You can view any invoices that are matched against those orders. So you're not, again, having to run lots of reports and enquiries to try and find out where your particular order has got to in the approval process. And that concludes our overview of the look and feel of the Oracle Cloud system. Thank you very much for your time.